A deal on Dickens, who could resist? A stack of Austen, warmly kissed. Golden Age crime tales twist and turn, every page a treasure to learn. Books keep coming home with me, piles so tall they're all I see. Turn a page and sail the sea, reading always feels so free.
Hi, my name is Talia. Welcome to Talia Nerds Out. I have been sitting here tonight / early morning making book haul videos one after another. It's been a while since I've done a true book haul video, and I've just been having books sort of like gathering in boxes, on my floor, and I need to put them away. So I'm not sure how much of a distance there'll be between the postings of these videos. I'm not even sure if they'll be posted soon. I just need to make them so I can put the books away. So this is the last book haul video I have to make tonight. And this is the one I'm calling like my science-y one, because I've done Inklings, I've done Detection Club, I've done literature / classics one, and then I've done history. So now this one is my science-y one. So people may or may not consider this one to come in the science-y. I'm just pulling this over here because that's what it was presented to me as. So these are two books that my dad has always recommended. Never got around to reading them, but found them for a good price on thrift books, which is like something that I do every time I pick up a book pretty much. But this is The Case for a Creator, a journalist investigates scientific evidence that points toward God by Stroble. And like I said, this is one that my dad's recommended to me for a while. He got really excited when he saw that I picked it up. He wanted to make sure I picked up both of the ones he recommended, which I had, and he wanted to make sure I read them in the proper order, which I was already planning to. But he was really excited about this. I'm excited about when I am able to start this and be able to share that experience with him. And the other one that he recommended, this is one I remember hearing him talk about the longest, probably because this is the first one that was released and the first one that he read. But the other one is The Case for Christ, a journalist's personal investigation of the evidence for Jesus. So look forward to these. I put them in the science-y area because, for example, for the first one, it says investigate scientific evidence that points towards God. So I was like, okay, that kind of lands these books there. Other ones that fall in my science-y area: Walter Reed and Yellow Fever. I mentioned this at least briefly in... Maybe I didn't mention this briefly. I don't remember. Anyway, this is a book that I've had for a little while, but I haven't shown it yet in a book haul video. And I mean, I picked it up, this year, but things happened, just never got shown. I have an interest in Walter Reed. I have an interest in Walter Reed, partly because my sister had gone to that hospital. She was seeing a doctor there, and was one of the hospitals that she ended up going to at that time. And I never really knew anything about Walter Reed until he popped up in, just brief reference, in David McCullough's The Great Bridge. He came up when they were talking about the caissons and about darn, it's like right on the edge of my the bends. We're talking about the bends. I guess early in his career he did some work on looking into how to deal with the bends. But then he went on to do research on yellow fever. So he came up again in the book on the Panama Canal by David McCullough. So it seemed about time that I read about Walter Reed, between the connection with my sister having gone to that hospital, which is what really made his name stick out to me to begin with, and then him coming up in 2 subsequent books. I'm generally interested in medical history anyway, so this seemed like a good book to get. Not sure how it is readability-wise, but look forward to reading it. Then this one here is, this was recommended, oh no, it wasn't recommended, the book itself. This, Lindsay Harris, I believe that's the author's name. She's the one who wrote the Butchering Art, which was about why am I forgetting his name? Listerine was named after him. Dr. Joseph Lister. Loved the book, but she had mentioned another doctor who had an important part to play in history, and this is Jonas Sulk. And apparently he wasn't too popular in the medical community, but he was involved in the release of the polio vaccine, which just the mixture of, there apparently was some sort of story with him in the medical community, but he was also really popular among the people, and then the whole medical aspect of dealing with polio, trying to get a vaccine for that. It was very interesting. This one, I want to say I found it for like stupidly inexpensive. Like normally it was over $20, and I think it was another one where I found for less than $7, and I was just like, yoink. Because I was just going to put it on a wish list otherwise. This is Oxford University Press. Yeah, I got it for Steele, and I was like, yeah, this is the kind of book I'm interested in anyway. So I look forward to eventually reading this. And then ending this with Oliver Sacks. Now, these won't be the first Oliver Sacks books that I've ever picked up. I think I picked this up earlier this year, maybe last year. The first Oliver Sacks book that I had read, I had actually listened to. And I don't even know if I owned it, listened to it, or I must have, I don't know. Anyway, The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat. I remember enjoying listening to it, but I also remember that I'm pretty sure that I didn't grasp everything. So I look forward to eventually actually reading this and picking up on the details that I would have missed just listening to it. Then the other one, this was the second one that I picked up, was Migraine. And this is another one I've had for a while. I made the mistake of trying to read this. When did I get this book? I tried to read this it would have been in 2021, 2022, when, I think it was 2022, when I was going to find out whether or not I was going to have my tethered cord surgery. I remember trying to read this headed into the waiting room for my neurosurgeon. Well, it was a very ambitious idea that I was going to focus on this when I was about to head into an important doctor's appointment. But I tried, didn't get very far. I'm going to try again. I'm going to try taking notes and annotating and stuff, not just highlighting, maybe see if I can get more out of it. Well, looks like I did annotating a little bit. I guess I just wasn't in the brain space. I found it to be like a bit hard for me to understand at the time. Migraines are not simple. But I wanted to understand migraines because I had only fairly recently, I'm not sure if I'd even been diagnosed with migraines for a year at that point. I might have been. I'm honestly can't remember how long I've been diagnosed. It took a little while to get to that point. But yeah, I wanted to understand better, but did not get through the book. I do want to try again later. Maybe having given myself some time will have helped, just because I don't think when I attempted to read it initially was the smartest time period. Then the other one, this will be the first book that I have read of his fully physically, and that I've been, making good progress on. This is Musicophilia. So this deals with things like music hallucinations, people who are amusical, so they literally cannot hear music. They deal with music therapy, like for people with Parkinson's, and then other, just so many other things. Musical savants. Talking about, just like I said, so much in here. I know the next chapter is called Phantom Fingers, the case of the one-armed pianist. Don't know what I get to expect there. But it talks about here, music and Tourette syndrome. There's just a lot in here. It's a really interesting book. Music and blindness. I've been thoroughly enjoying this. I was trying to get it done before April started because I was in a little bit of a lull where I'd finished the books that I wanted to get done for sure before April. And I was like, well, let me focus on this one book. See if I can get it done. Well, I got quite far, not to finishing point far, but, I made quite a bit of good progress on it. And I'm sure if I was to just sit down and read it, I could get it done pretty quickly, because not counting, acknowledgments, that's all I have left. So that's, let's see, a little over 100 pages. So it was 110 pages approximately. That's not too bad. I can get that done. So maybe at some point I'll just sit down and finish that, just knock it out and then focus on the rest of my reading for this month. Now the actual book haul videos, because I don't remember when I picked up this one. I either did it, I actually might have picked this up at the end of last year. I can't remember. But also, thrift books, good price, yada yada. I have An Anthropologist on Mars. This kept being mentioned a couple times during Musicophilia, and it just made me curious. So you have The Case of the Colorblind Painter, The Last Hippie, A Surgeon's Life, To See and Not See, The Landscape of His Dreams, Prodigies, An Anthropologist on Mars. I think the case that you mentioned a couple times was The Case of the Colorblind Painter. But yeah, I look forward to this. I like his way of presenting cases through case study, or presenting conditions through case studies. But in a very interesting way. It's a much storytelling way. Even if you aren't interested in the medical aspect, the personal stories I think are still interesting. Then there is Hallucinations, also by Oliver Sacks. He's, next. This book and the one after are both Oliver Sacks. Now, I'm interested because he mentions briefly, Oliver Sacks has both personal and professional interests in psychedelics. So he's also talking about not hallucinations that occur because of medical issues or other issues, but he also apparently is talking about psychedelics. And I know when I read, actually I might have read, but I borrowed Blue Dream. I think I did listen to it through Libby. And Blue Dream was about the history of psychiatric medicine. And towards the end, the author basically did her pitch for medical psychedelics and the benefits that she saw in them. Now, I personally don't think it's terribly wise to trigger hallucinations when you don't really know what direction they're going to go. I don't think we really have a good way to control hallucinations, so it just seems counterintuitive to me to be like, yeah, let's totally like trigger you into having this. I'm interested in seeing where Dr. Sachs lands on this. I mean, he was a neurosurgeon. Doesn't necessarily mean I will agree with his point of view, because when I read about Blue Dream, it's just like, especially when they would go in, they mentioned a couple times where the results weren't necessarily so good, but then they mentioned using it for grief counseling, or for other kinds of counseling. I'm like, but you're basing healing on something that's not real. It's a hallucination. Like, when that hallucination goes away, like, now you still have to deal with the thing. I don't know. I'll be interested in seeing what direction he takes when he starts going into the topic of psychedelics. But, yeah. And then this one is his book called The Mind's Eye. And one of the things it talks about is, well, hang on, let me go to the table of contents. So you got sight reading, recalled to life, a man of letters, face blind. This is one I was thinking about. I actually knew a doctor who was face blind. He's no longer living. He died during COVID. But I remember we were talking at the nurse's desk at one point, and I'm not even sure how it came up in conversation, but he mentioned that he was face blind. It was so weird because I had heard about it for the first time not long before, because I was listening to some I think it was medical history podcast or just a medical podcast. I don't remember, but it come up randomly, and then he happened to mention that he had face blindness. And he's the only person I've known who had mentioned it, that I've known. But I guess that he would just take into, in context, okay, how do people wear their hair? What are they, generally dressed as? Of course, in the hospital, all the nurses are wearing the same thing, and we have our badges, so it would have our name on it. So that worked out well. But yeah, I thought that was very interesting, and he made it work for his career. He's an excellent doctor, one of my favorite ones to work with. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I did actually know someone who was face blind. Stereo Sue, Persistence of Vision, a Journal, The Mind's Eye. So I'm not sure what all the topics are about. The main one, like I said, that caught my eye was face blind. Not that I knew it when I picked it up. I just, generally looked at the back and I was like, oh, that looks like a good topic. And I know I can usually expect an interesting book from Oliver Sacks that will also educate me on medical things in an interesting way. But yeah, that's everything. Both older books that I have attempted to read, have read, or currently reading, plus the book haul videos, or the book haul books that are more sciencey. But thank you very much for joining me for this series of book haul videos. You may not be seeing it as a series. It's probably not going to be released in, a series format. Like, you will probably see one pop up here, one pop up there. Just depends on where I'm at editing wise. If I want to, intersperse them with some of the review videos that I have in the docket that need to be released, or edited and released. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me. Hope that you have a wonderful day, and I will see you for the next videos. God bless. Bye.
Books keep coming home with me, piles so tall they're all I see. Turn a page and sail the sea. Reading always feels so free.